In the state of Georgia, there are roughly 900 suicides that happen every year. 110 to 120 of those suicides happen with people between the ages of 10 to 24 years old. It's the third leading cause of death in that age group. It's right behind car accidents and homicides. One review by the Georgia Office of Child Fatality, they say that at least 3 students in every single classroom have attempted suicide at some point during the school year.
Josh was my cousin, but really he was my big brother, my best friend, my mentor, my confidant. Everything was great until Saturday, May 28th, 2011. I'd just been given a morning news show from my high school, and I was typing an email for it. It was about 6 or 7 in the afternoon. And I heard a sprint, the only way I can describe it, down my hall, which I knew was unusual because my mother has some very serious back issues, and for her to sprint like that, there was something wrong. And I was already standing by the time that she got to my door, and she said, "Shane, Josh has shot himself." And that moment changed my life forever. By Wednesday, we got to go to visitation, and a lot of people were there. I was a pallbearer for his funeral. And then one thing that I feel like happens with a lot of these cases is that the majority of his friends, family, and all that, began to look to tomorrow. Let's get life back together. Everything's fine. But for me, it was hard for me to look for tomorrow. Everything was not fine. I was stuck in that moment.
When people think of suicidal individuals, they usually think of the person laying with razor blades in their bathroom, slitting their wrist, or with a gun to their head. But it's not always that person. Sometimes it can be the absolute happiest person in the room that you would never think had any sort of depression in them. Some of the risk factors that you could look for in suicidal people are depression and anxiety and any other related mood behaviors. They begin to have impulsive or aggressive behaviors and changes in their eating and sleeping. They start crying more and concentrating less, and they start feeling hopeless. These people normally have a family history of suicide or history of trauma, abuse, or anything that makes them feel like the victim. A lot of people in the LGBTQ community are extremely at risk. The extreme factors that you need to look for that require immediate attention are once they start giving away their prized possessions, or they start talking and writing about suicide, researching ways to commit suicide, or starting to threaten about actually hurting themselves. A lot of the conditions that will usually trigger it that you can really watch out for is a breakup of their dating relations, death of family or friends, trauma after trauma experiences, an extreme level of conflict in their life, loss of a job, or exposure to more deaths and suicides than what you would normally have. Some helpful resources that you could look for if you think somebody's considering suicide, or if you yourself are considering suicide, is to look at the local crisis center and hotlines, community health centers, religious leaders, school and faculty members, your HR departments or counseling centers. If it's an emergency, you need to take the person to the ER or mental health walk-in clinic. You don't need to leave them alone until they're with a professional, and you need to make sure that there's no alcohol, drugs, firearms, or sharp objects near them.
And then it got to where it was very hard for me to sleep. Sleep is one of the easy ways for people going through depression, grief, loss, things like that, to escape from their pain. And for me, it wasn't an escape because I had all these vivid, awful dreams and nightmares, and that wasn't an escape for me. So, roughly 2 months after Josh's death, I'd been up for close to 2 days, which was crazy. It was like 38 hours. And it was about 8 or 9 in the morning, and my mother had a doctor's appointment. And she got in the car and left. What she didn't know is that her son was planning on committing suicide. I went back to my room after I made sure she was gone, and I got a knife. And I put the knife to my neck, and I began counting down in my head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Some of the programs that you could look to find help with either your family member or you yourself are the Sources of Strength, which is a program with peers and mentors that help each other.
And in that instant, the image of my mother coming back home, seeing her bloodied son dead, was so powerful for me. And then the thought of my grandparents looking down on me, ashamed that I was doing what I was planning on doing. The thought of God feeling ashamed that I was going to do what I was planning on doing. So I sat there for a few minutes, and I decided to step outside and get some fresh air. I stepped out on my porch, and I said aloud, God, if there's any point in fighting this, if there's any reason I need to keep going, give me a sign. Anything. I will take anything. And in that instant, the clouds parted, and the sun seemed like it was shining right down on me. And some people might say it's a coincidence, it's the weather, but that was enough of a sign for me to keep on going. And it didn't get better for me overnight. It was still a constant fight. I had darker days ahead too. But no matter how dark your day is now, there is always going to be a brighter dawn tomorrow. We wanted to take the time to thank you for watching our video.
If you feel like this video can help anybody, please share it.